and do not necessarily reflect the opinions of this station, its affiliates, its management, or advertisers. The Del Walmsley Show is for entertainment purposes only. Please consult a professional regarding your personal investment needs. Nothing presented on the Del Walmsley Show constitutes an endorsement, recommendation, offer, or solicitation to buy or sell any product or security.
The following message is sponsored by the Florida Department of Business and Professional Regulation, the Florida Association of Broadcasters, and this radio station.
Natural disasters can be unexpected and devastating to your home or property. If your home or property is damaged and needs repairs, it's important to use only Florida licensed contractors. Remember to check their references, get everything in writing, and don't pay up front. To verify your contractors are licensed, contact the Florida Department of Business and Professional Regulation online at myfloridalicense.com. That's myfloridalicense.com.
Tune into Aging Healthy with Dr. Maria, featuring Astamatrix at 10 a.m. Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Astamatrix is a vegan marine-sourced omega-3, supports healthy joints and may reduce inflammation that causes pain, and supports optimal brain function.
Talk 1470 is WWNN Pompano Beach and 95.3 FM W237BD Boca Raton, the Health and Wealth Radio Network.
If you're sick and tired of being sick and tired, tune in to the Dr. Bob Martin Show. From erectile dysfunction to eczema, heartburn to headaches, carpal tunnel to how to lower cholesterol drug-free. Sunday mornings at 10 on Talk 1470 WNN.
If you suffer with diabetes, there's a 25% chance that you'll develop a foot ulcer that can lead to severe health consequences, including amputation. At the sole authority, at little or no cost, you can receive your very own therapeutic shoes and custom inserts. Medicare recipients are entitled to one pair of quality diabetic shoes and 3 custom inserts. Call the Sole Authority today, 954-597-7060.
Go to your app store and download the WNN app on your Android or iPhone. And never miss a Talk 1470 minute.
The opinions expressed on the following sponsored program are strictly those of the host, guests, and callers, and not necessarily those of this station, its staff, management, or sponsors. Amp2.tv presents Tell Us Your Business, where you're invited on the air to tell us what makes your business stand out in the community. It's important we hear from you to tell us all we need to know about what you do best. Tell Us Your Business uses the latest radio and television production systems, and all shows can be seen on amp2.tv. If you have a question for our guest, call 888-565-1470. Now, let's get ready as our guest hits the airwaves and informs us about what we need to know on Tell Us Your Business.
We're on the air. Let's go.
On the air. Hello, everybody, and welcome.
Welcome. It's so glad to be here today, and we really have to thank Freddie and Dawn for being so gracious and allowing us to come on today and talk to you about what we do and how we might support you in living miraculously. Because after all, what do we always say, Terry? It's your life.
Your life. Live miraculously.
Live miraculously.
Expect miracles.
Expect them. Because miracles, we think that miracles are something that happens out of the ordinary. And for us, what we believe is it takes just a little shift in your thinking, just a little bit of a shift of stepping out of what we know as physical reality into the quantum field. And that is not as mysterious and spooky as you may think. And for me, I'm a board-certified life coach and a hypnotherapist, a numerologist, and the author of 2 books, The Year of Living Miraculously and The Tao of Numbers. And one of the things that I do is help people who feel frustrated or stuck in their lives to see possibilities that they may not have known existed. And so what I do is help them to move through those challenges, those blocks, or sometimes boulders in the road, and to live the life that you were meant to live. And there's numerous tools that I use to do that. And what about you, Terry? You do so many things.
Well, yes, I am a certified happiness coach. And what that means is we just uncover all the stuff that's burying your happiness. It's all inside of you. Happiness doesn't happen on the outside. It doesn't depend on who's in your life, the events in your life. It's how you perceive those things. So that's what I do, is help people uncover that. I'm also an angel conduit, which means that I channel messages from the angels and help people in that way to answer questions they have in life. So many people want to know things, not just, am I going to get a boyfriend? Am I going to get a good job? They really want to know things about their life and living their life miraculously.
Miraculously, yeah. Yeah, there's no reason why in this day and age why we can't shift. After all, one of the things we talked about before we came on today is, gosh, it appears like there's so many changes taking place, right? And all over. And people are feeling more stress than normal. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people are living in fear.
Yes.
And we believe that those types of, that energy, either whether it's fear or worry, and the thing that I always say about worry to my clients when they say, I'm worried about this or I'm worried about that, is, well, let me ask you a question. How many hours worth of worry do you think you have to put into that problem to make it go away? Is it 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 weeks? And of course, you know what? What's the answer? The answer is no amount of worry. No. You can't worry somebody better. You can't worry your finances. You can't worry more money into existence. You can't worry enough to get a better relationship. And in fact, what do we say about worry too, right? It just, if you believe at all in a connection to the divine or whatever that is, a higher power or the universe, mm-hmm. when you have worry in your life or fear, think of it this way. It's like having an artery full of plaque. And if an artery is full of plaque, the blood flow is stuck. It doesn't go through. It doesn't flow through evenly or easily. So if you're filled with worry and fear, that's like plaque, like clogging up this pipeline to the divine. And what does that do? Well, you're not going to get any inspiration if you're filled with worry and fear and anger and resentment.
All of that good stuff. And the reason that we go into those states of fear is because we're either looking back at what's happened in our past, or we're projecting forward what might possibly happen, but you can only stay in the moment. You can only focus on what's happening right now to you. And once you do that and really just breathe that in, feel, what am I feeling right now, this moment? And then that fear starts to dissipate.
Right.
It starts to get less and less because you're not just looking over your shoulder or thinking what ifs. What ifs don't do anything for us.
Right. And you know what, Terry, what you said, everything that you say, I always love how you express yourself and how you're in touch with so many things to help people. But one of the things that you said, being in the moment, we talk about that a lot and we kind of throw that expression around, right?
Yes.
But maybe we can both talk about, what does that mean to be in the moment, and how do you do that?
Right. So what you do is the breath. And I am an Ad Heart facilitator with Heart Math Institute in California. And so what that means, that big spill, is that you simply get more focused on your breath. Wherever you're touching on your body, that brings your attention there. So you just place your hand on your heart center, because don't we all want to be more coming from our heart and more loving in our life? So touching your heart just brings your focus there. And then you just slow down your breath. Just breathe in like to a count of 5 and breathe it back out. And then add in some gratitude. Gratitude changes everything.
Right.
Once you can get into that mode of gratitude, find something in your life that you're grateful for, whether it's your children, your pets, your spouse. You know, the place we live in. We live in paradise, for God's sake. You know? So,
this is paradise.
Yeah. So just do the slow breathing, focus on something you're grateful for, and before you know it, your heart and your brain are communicating. And then you get into this really beautiful energy where you're able to look at, okay, now what's going on with me right now,
Right now.
this minute. And everything else just kind of, it just falls away.
It does. I agree. And for me, I do follow that those suggestions and meditating. Even really, what you're talking about, though, in all honesty, is really kind of a meditation as well, right?
Yes.
And sometimes what I do is one of the ways that I start all of any workshop that I do, I would say that 99.75%, if it's not more than that, maybe it's 100. I start all my workshops with the breath work, which is taking 3 deep breaths, but letting it out with a loud like that.
Yeah.
Not just, we're for the most part, we're chest breathers. We're not belly breathers. And belly breathers is taking a deep breath in through your nose and out through your mouth. You can't imagine. I mean, just try it. Maybe if you're listening right now or watching, you could try that, because that is such a release, Just breathing in through your nose, letting it out through your mouth with the sound. And then,
and fill your lungs up.
Right.
Like you said, we breathe shallowly. We forget what we're supposed to do to breathe. But taking the full breath into your lungs and filling it up, I call it belly breath. You're going to feel your belly start to come out because there's so much breath and so much air in your lungs.
Right.
But it does relax you by doing that. Just that step alone will relax you.
Right. Relaxing, using those techniques, trying at least, working at not worrying about what was or what is, because you mentioned that. Because we're either, as you said, we're either living a past or we're projecting a future. We're so rarely into the now. And each minute is the now. It's the now. It's the now. And at the moment, look around you and say, what are you grateful for? And another thing that we do talk about is, even in some really serious, challenging situations, and Terry and I both know what those can be like. Even in those most challenging situations, you can, what's called, flip the switch and look at what is it that you can look at? What are you getting from that situation? And even the most awful situations, there's some gift in it. And I know for some of you out there, you might be thinking, oh no, what I'm going through, but I'm going to tell you a really brief story about someone who's young. I won't go through the whole story because it's a little bit, long, but I know someone personally who lost their daughter at 5 years old, and that has got to be, as a mother, you're a mother, probably one of the most devastating things that could happen in your life, and probably most of you would agree with that. And she, at the time that it happened, she wasn't necessarily spiritually minded. But as you've probably all heard, we're spiritual beings having a human experience. But about 2 years after her daughter died, because that did level her, of course, and it got her thinking in a new direction about wondering, where is my daughter, and is there a heaven, and spirituality. And she came 180 degrees from her grief, because she had the money to do this, and she set up a foundation to research some of the what happened with her daughter, and to help stop that from other children. And she said to me 2 years later, she said, now I really believe I know why my daughter came here and her life was so short, and it was to help other kids. Now, listen, if you want to take a walk on the wild side with us just for a minute, imagine that there's such a thing as reincarnation, and perhaps these very heroic souls come back to help us, to move us along a direction that helps other people. Because the bottom line, I believe, and I know Terry believes this too, what are we here for? I mean, we all have our specific talents or gifts, and that's your job, to discover what that is and then share it with the world. So maybe for this little girl, that was her job to come.
That was her job.
To
That was
come
her
back here.
purpose.
That was her purpose.
Yeah, we all have a purpose. And, Michelle, it's like sometimes in those moments of the trauma or the tragedy in life, that's when we do start searching. That's when we say, what's this all about anyway? I coach so many people that are going through really horrific things. And they're like, what am I doing? What is this? And what am I supposed to do with it? So sometimes it takes that moment to just really stop and say, what's it all about?
Yeah.
And how do I find that purpose? And that I know that happened to me this year. I was already on a spiritual path, but then I got really knocked on my butt.
You did.
And I had to say, and I asked the angels, what is this all about? What am I supposed to do with this? And they showed me the direction that I will be heading in helping other people that go through the exact same thing that I did. There's so many out there that are trying to deal with the emotional side of trauma and tragic things that happen in our lives.
Yeah.
So there's a purpose to everything. And don't just look at something that looks at first glance like it's really horrible and awful. Look at what's going to come on the other side of that.
Right. That's essential. And Terry does speak with angels, and that's really important. And I do numerology, and I have to tell you that I got into numerology through the back door, because years ago I was in the medical field, and I'm going back, I don't know, to another era. Totally. I mean, I'm pretty old. But anyway, I started off in the medical field, not in clinical, but as administration. And it's a long story how this happened. But it did happen, and it turned my life around. So besides the many spiritual beliefs that I have, I also do numerology. And I was trying to think, what could I do tonight? What could we do tonight that may be of interest if anybody is listening, or everybody? If everybody's listening, right? Hopefully you're out there listening. And if you're very curious about numerology, the easiest way for me, just to give you a little snippet, and I'm not sure what you'd like to do, but you can share that in a second, how you'd like people to call in and talk with you. But if you could do something really simple, like add up your month of birth. Here's an example. If your birthday was 2/13, then you would just add 2 plus 1 is 3 plus 3 is 6. And you can call in with that number, 6, and I'm going to figure out what your month vibration is. I'm not going to give you the whole year. It's pretty involved. But, definitely call in. The number is 888-565-1470. And how about you, Terry? What would you like to do?
Well, if you would love to call in and see if the angels have a message for you, I can certainly channel a message through. It may be a brief message. Usually they're long-winded, and I do hold angel circles in Fort Lauderdale, and we bring messages to everybody that's there, everybody that attends the circle. So I'll tune in and see if there's something. If you want to just, I would need to hear your voice. Mm-hmm. So that means you have to dial that number, and that number is 888-565-1470.
Right. Okay, I'm going to get my phone because I want to call in and get a message from you. Okay, so until that happens, we can talk about some of the things that we're doing. I am also, probably in October, I'm going to do a numerology certification program. And trust me, if you don't know about numerology, it is fascinating. And I was blown away when I first started doing it. I had a reading 30 years ago, I think it was with a master numerologist in New York who was smoking a big cigar and doing my numbers, and I'm thinking, what?
Well,
What?
Michelle, you did my numbers. You did my charts. Not last year, but year before last. And so spot on. Oh my gosh, you really know your stuff. So
Thank
if you're going to
you.
offer a class like that, I'm going
You're
to sign
coming.
up.
You're coming. All right. Yeah,
Absolutely.
and there were a lot of changes for you
Yes.
coming up. But you know what? People say, "Well, okay, why do I want to know my numbers? What's going to happen?" Okay, there's such a thing, I believe, and I know that you believe this too, as predestination and free will. And people go, "Well, how the heck can those two things coexist?" Very easily, right? So predestination is, again, we believe that you come here with a purpose and you're going from point A to point B. And the universe really doesn't care how long it takes you to go from point A to point B, because the universe has all of eternity to play the game. So point A is the beginning over and over again, and point B, the end, which is never the end, is being reunited with source, whatever you want to call that. So a numerology chart or an astrology chart or what you do points you in the direction. It gives you kind of a blueprint of where you are and where you're going. So that's the predestination. But what's the free will? The free will is you are going to be offered opportunities in your life, whether that's by way of a career or meeting someone or a marriage or a friend or any number of situations and experiences. And a lot of those are predestined. Okay, the free will, you can choose to accept or reject that lesson. And the universe says, okay, well, right, you rejected it. But
Yes, I fully believe that, Michelle. We come here for a purpose, and there's a path that, is our path that we decided before we even came into this body. But once we get here, we can say, oh, I think I like that path over there better. So let me just wander over there and see what that's all about. We do have that free choice that we can
Right.
do that.
Right. That we can do that. We can choose. And it's like if you're in a bad okay, here's a $64,000 question. How many people who are listening or watching, how many of you seen that you have certain patterns in your life, certain relationships that repeat over and over again, certain situations that repeat over and over again? Do you notice that? Do you notice a pattern in your life? Because if you do, that's the evidence that we come here to learn certain lessons. And whether you want to say, oh, it's just psychological. Well, guess what? The psychological and the spiritual, they meet up beautifully. It's a beautiful marriage between the psychological and the spiritual. So do you want to learn the lesson, or do you want to keep repeating it over and over again?
Yeah, and if you find yourself on that hamster wheel thinking, I'm just going to keep doing this and it'll be different the next time, just stop and say, what the heck is this all about?
Right.
What am I doing?
If you always do what you've always done, you'll always get what you've always gotten.
Always.
And for me, being Italian, and what they say, a cabados in Italian, that's thick-headed. For a long time, I learned by what's called the 2x4 therapy, where I had to get hit over the head before I really went, oh, that's the lesson.
Yes.
But the lesson, and the other thing, just to digress for a second, because you brought up something else about how everybody has a purpose, and that's so true. And one of the things that I always say is find your purpose and your passion. And if your purpose or your passion is making ice cream, then be the best damn ice cream maker you can be, because there's no lowly or lofty paths or passions or talents in this life. Because if you're the best damn ice cream maker, people are going to love your ice cream, and you're going to bring happiness, to people who aren't lactose intolerant, but,
Yeah. Which brings up another point too, Michelle. There's no hierarchy.
Right.
So if you're comparing yourself to somebody else, oh, they're just so great, or they have so much, so I'm not going to have as much as they do. You know, that is a lack mentality. There's enough for all of us. And there's none of us that are more deserving or less deserving than anyone else. We all deserve to have the very best that can come to us and live the very best life we can live.
Right.
That's why we're here. Have fun. Play on the playground. You know, take that step outside your comfort zone and see what happens.
Right. You know, that, again, every time I listen to you, too, it just reminds me of things that, like, yes, that's right. Something else that you just said, okay, and it just went out of my mind. What you were talking about is living your best life and
taking chances. Playing on the playground. Yeah.
Playing on the playground. Okay, I forgot. Let's move on. It'll come back to me.
Yeah, it will.
Right.
But when you step out of your comfort zone and you start doing things that are not your norm, maybe you've gotten in a rut and you say, oh, I think I'm going to go check that out tonight.
Right.
Do it. That's your gut talking to you. That's maybe your guardian angel saying, hey, you know, it's time for a change in your life. It's time to move beyond where you've been stuck in that stagnant energy. So if you're feeling a tug to do something different, do it.
Right.
What's the worst that could happen?
What's the worst thing can happen?
You've taken a chance.
That's right. What did Edison say when somebody said to him, "How does it feel to fail 100 times?" Well, I learned 100 times how not to do something.
That's right.
Get out of your box. Yeah. And this is another thing. I'm also writing a screenplay called Angels Anonymous, but this is what made me write the screenplay, because imagine, and we all get these urgings, right, to do things. Mm-hmm. And do we follow them? Sometimes we do, sometimes we don't. But say you had a really strong urge to, say, move to New York City and be a writer. And so you want to do that. You don't even know why. You just know that you love to write. And you want to be in that very busy, active, culturally rich city, which it is. And you want to be in that, but you're going, okay, so now you've got your vision board, which we do, vision board workshops. You've got this vision board, and you've got all of your photos up, and you know they're up there, and you're loving to do it. And then guess what? You run it by a couple of people, and what do they say? What? What? What do you mean? You go, what do you have a job? So this goes on and on. So finally, you give up. You go home, you start ripping down that vision board, all the pictures, and guess what? Behind you, unseen, is your angel throwing herself on the couch going, oh, great, 4 more years of my trying to get through to you. So that's one of the things that we want you to understand. If you have those urgings, follow them.
Follow it.
So what... Do we have some time left here? How much time?
I think he said 2 minutes.
2 minutes? Wow. Well, that's not so great. Okay. But, let's finish up with this. I'm doing a numerology certification program coming up. If you want to know more, it's Michelle Landers, Michele, 1L, Landers, Landers, at bellsouth.net. And you, Terry?
I have a training coming up in October, and it will be up in Royal Palm Beach.
I'm excited.
It's energy healing. If you ever wonder what that was all about, you'll be learning from the get-go. You don't have to already have that information. You'll be taught how to do energy healing. And so if you're interested, you can go to angelspeakers.com, and all the information will be right there.
Right. So we thank anybody who's been listening today and tonight. And if you have any questions, you can still call us, and we'll certainly be happy to answer any questions you might have. And see you soon. Thank you so much. Have a great evening.
This has been Tell Us Your Business, where a special guest comes on every week and tells us what they do. All shows can be seen on amp2.tv, and if you wish to be a guest, call 866-224-5422 and tell us about your business. That's 866-224-5422. This has been an AMP2.TV production.